Broadcasting from the KC Coyote Studios, you're listening to Kearney Live on 102.7 KPGZ. Kearney Live is presented by Kearney Trust Company. Kearney Trust, 310 West 92 Highway in Kearney. The phone number is 816-628-6666. And now here's the hosts of Kearney Live, Mike Davis and Jim Dickerson.
And welcome to Kearney Live. I am your host, Mike Davis, along with my friend and co-host Jim Dickerson, and the one and only, the very popular, the man who never has to buy dinner in Kearney, Missouri. No, it's not Jim Dickerson. It's one Brian Watts, the hardest working man in Kearney, Missouri. He is absolutely the hardest working man, and he's having an argument right now with Jim.
That's over because you know what
he's arguing about the volume of his headset.
He's cutting out my microphone is what he's doing.
There we go.
Let me fix it. Now I'm going to have to sit here and hold it all day. I know he's the one doing this. There are
things that happen at a radio station, folks, behind the scenes that you'll never want to see. That was one of them. I will tell everybody that, by the way, we have Dr. Amy Patel with us today, and she'll be on in just a few minutes. She is in studio. It's not like she's late or anything like that. In fact, I'm told she's one of the most punctual people on the planet. So, from the looks of things, anyway. So, we will talk about that. And do we have our sound fixed for Brian and Jim here? You guys connected?
So I think we got it all fixed up. So we're all good to go.
Yeah, you take care of those things off the air, but that doesn't always happen in live radio. I do want to mention, Jim, too. There are a couple of things that we wanted to share with folks. We often hear, as you know, we love your radio station, but golly, when I get out of town just a little bit away from Kearney, I don't hear it, and I can't listen. Well, yes, you can listen, and there is a way. There are a couple of apps that we recommend, and one of them is the TuneIn app. But the other one that we really, truly, highly recommend, Jim, what is it?
It's called the MyTuner radio app, and let me talk to you a little bit about it because a lot of people do ask this, and this also comes up. It comes up not only when we're doing the show like Kearney Live and the morning show, the K-Town Morning Zone, and then we also have the shows, a lot of the popular shows on the weekend. So if you listen to the community radio where the kids do the plays and all that sort of thing, there's a lot of people that want to listen to it, and they're outside of not only the Kearney area, but they're out of Kansas City altogether. The MyTuner radio app is so simple to use. So if you just go to the App Store, look up MyTuner Radio, and then just download the app, you literally will be listening within 10 seconds. And the beauty is there's no ads. You don't have to register. I mean, you can if you want to, but you don't have to register. Just search KPGZ. It comes up right away, and you're listening immediately. Now, the beauty of that is, for a lot of people who know, I travel quite a bit, and I listen to KPGZ literally all over the world, even when I leave the country. So it's a great way to listen. For those of you who listen to the Bulldog Radio Network, I know a lot of people have kids that play on the team or
grandparents.
Grandparents, right. And not just football, but when we do the basketball and the other sports. For those of you who live anywhere in the country, you can listen to that MyTuner Radio app. It is free. Now, you can always listen online as well, but the MyTuner Radio app is free. Like I said, you don't have to register, so you're not getting a bunch of, spam emails for how to get bigger shoes or some hair jelly or something like that. You don't get any of that stuff. If you want to register, you can.
I'm a consumer of both of those products.
I know, and you probably registered. But so anyway, the MyTuner Radio app will get you there. One last thing that it does. Most people have a Bluetooth connection in their car these days, so you do your hands-free phone. You can use this radio app. It will automatically hook up to your car, and then you drive down the road listening to it in your car just like you would any other radio station. And again, you can, when you're traveling, say you're going to go from here to Springfield or somewhere, Omaha or something like that, and you start to leave town and then all the stations go away and you don't know what to do, the MyTuner radio app will take you all the way wherever you're going, never have to change the station. So you got that going for you. So that is a way that folks can
take us with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
folks
absolutely.
can stand. So MyTuner radio app, and they didn't pay me a nickel for that.
No, and it comes with a very strong endorsement, obviously. I think, and Brian's got a cough today, I think it's one of the probably more robust apps for listening to radio. Just from what I've seen, because it'll I think it sometimes doesn't it play the song, show the song name, song title.
It shows you the title and all that.
Yeah, which is very cool. Awesome stuff. Don't forget about that, because we want you to listen. We'd like you to listen 24/7 if you would. 102.7 FM likes to take care of our community, Kearney, Missouri. Speaking of that, Jim, one more thing, and we're going to get to Dr. Patel here because we've got a really good show coming up. We have been working with the Kearney your local Kearney Chamber of Commerce on a campaign for shopping local. I know folks have heard about that, and people kind of understand it. They you've heard it around the world. I mean, yes, shop local. Well, what's that mean? And we have come up with a copy platform just to kind of kick off the campaign. And let me just tell you what it means. It means when you shop locally, you support Kearney businesses who in turn help make our community a better place to live and work and actually play. Our schools, parks, neighborhoods, and charitable organizations thrive as a byproduct of hardworking local entrepreneurs and people like you who choose to do business with them. Your Kearney Chamber of Commerce encourages you to shop local in Kearney. And we'll be doing some really fun videos around the city and taking pictures of some business owners, and we'll have them take the Shop Local pledge, and it'll be a lot of fun, and you'll kind of see what we're talking about. But just wanted to give you all a heads up on the Shop Local Kearney campaign. It's something we're real excited about, and really happy to be working hand in hand with the Kearney Chamber of Commerce. All right. Dr. Amy Patel. Do we have one more item? Jim's got another item.
Actually, we'll get to this because it's a good lead-in
to what we're
doing.
Yeah, we want to do this. Yeah.
Just as a reminder, the Kearney Fire and Rescue Protection District is selling those pink and gray shirts with the proceeds benefiting the Kansas City arm of the American Cancer Society's breast cancer efforts. I'll get through this. The district has sold the shirts each October in honor of the Breast Cancer Awareness Month for 7 or 8 years. And in the last 2 years, the sales have raised more than $5,000. So those sales are used to aid those fighting the disease locally as well as survivors. So you can get a hold of, if you want to order one of those short shirts, you can go to kfd19.itemorder.com/sale. It's up there on your screen if you look at it. kfd19.itemorder.com/sale, and you'll see. Actually, I guess it's /sale. I don't.
Yeah,
whatever.
And there's a way, Jim, probably that you could just Google that. I would imagine, right?
I would think so, or contact the fire department. But if you look at your screen there, for those of you who are on the video, if you're listening to us on the radio, you probably can't look at your radio and see this. But for those of you watching the video broadcast of it, look at the screen and it shows you the shirts there that you can choose from. So you can have those. So proceeds going to a good cause.
So that does lead in.
That does lead. Mike, all yours.
To our guest. Thank you, Jim. Wonderful job there. Dr. Patel, well, first of all, welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
It is terrific having you here. You are a radiologist in Liberty, Missouri, and you're affiliated with Liberty Hospital. And this much I do know about you. You received your medical degree from the University of Missouri, Kansas City School of Medicine. And you've been in practice, and my release here says 6 to 10 years, so I'm going to guess it's probably closer to 10.
Well, actually, I'm now entering my 3rd year of actual practice.
Well,
there's a lot of years of training leading up to actual practice. Yeah.
Yes.
But with the training and practice, it would be about 15 years.
Well, there you go. I'm glad we got that straightened.
Yeah.
Which is very important. And you did your let me try this again. You did your residency at the University of Kansas School of Medicine in Wichita. Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you, because you have a fellowship here on your resume, and I think that is an interesting concept that not a lot of people really quite understand. When you hear fellowship, and this was at the Mallinckrodt Institute of Radiology in St. Louis, Missouri, and it's very important, particularly to folks in the medical field. For what reason, Dr. Patel? Tell me.
Well, now in the new era of medicine, many of us are doing what is called a fellowship, where we do an additional 1 to 2, could even be 3 years of training after residency, where we really have this specialized training in one part of a field of medicine. So they have fellowships in radiology, in internal medicine, across the board of all medical specialties. And so for me, I did a fellowship in breast imaging or breast radiology, where I spent 1 year just focusing on breast cancer, breast disease, really honing in and garnering expertise for breast imaging. And so that was a full year of only breast. And subsequently now, in practice, all I do is breast radiology. I am just a breast imaging expert.
Now, just so folks understand, and so I understand, the fellowship portion of it is not. It's not like a scholarship where you're actually borrowing or actually getting money to pay for your education.
Yes.
But explain how the payout works. You actually have to do the research or the work first.
So the way the fellowship works, so a scholarship, like let's say you go to college and you get a scholarship to pay for tuition. Mm-hmm. A fellowship, you're essentially more advanced than a resident, but you're not quite staff yet. So you are making a salary. It's just significantly lower than if you were a staff physician, but you are functioning essentially as a staff physician.
Okay, that makes sense to me, and I think that's very cool. And by the way, congratulations on all that hard work.
Oh, thank you.
That's terrific. And I'm just curious too. I know you mentioned where you're from. Tell the audience where you're from.
I'm actually born and raised in Chillicothe, Missouri.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Northwest Missouri person, kind of mid Missouri. Mid north.
Home of the Hornets.
There you go. I like that. Yeah. And I think. One of the things that we talk about is, our town. We just love Kearney, Missouri. We love the community, and you heard us talking about it at the beginning of the show. I'm curious, why are you here? And you're obviously working with Liberty Hospital, which is a local hospital here for the Kearney area. Why Kearney? Why this area here in the Northland? What brought you here?
Well, essentially, after my fellowship, I actually started my career out in Boston. I was working out at Harvard University, and it was a great experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I garnered a lot of knowledge, made a lot of incredible colleagues and friends, met a lot of incredible colleagues, made a lot of friends along the way. But, I knew that back home, there was such a need for specialized breast care, particularly for breast imaging. In the entire Northwest Missouri, there are only 4 of us who are breast imaging fellowship trained radiologists. So the majority of women who have a mammogram read, not just in this area, but in the country, it's read by generalists. So since there was such a paucity of specialists here, I felt sort of a calling to come back to serve. And I tell a lot of people this, that, one holiday I was home, like over Thanksgiving, and I was walking through Walmart with my mom, and we actually saw a couple we knew, and the wife of the couple said, why are you in Boston taking care of these patients? Why aren't you at home taking care of us? We're your family. And that really resonated with me, and it hit hard. And I thought, gosh, I've got to figure out a way, if, whether it's now or later, to come back to the area to serve. However, I wanted a leadership role, so I didn't want to come back and not have that role. I wanted a leadership role to really make an impact in this part of the state. Well, fortuitously, there was a job opening, particularly with Liberty Hospital and Alliance Radiology, and it was just too good of an offer to pass up. And so I came back home, and I started practicing in the area.
Well, we're glad you did. What an amazing story in Harvard. Wow. Just add another tick to your resume there. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Well, let's get down to the nuts and bolts of this. I think, one of the first questions we had for you is that there seems to be a lot of confusion in the media as to when you start or stop getting a mammogram. And frankly, what do you recommend?
So there are many organizations, and there's a lot of confusion of when to, start and stop a mammogram. But organizations such as the American College of Radiology, the American Society for Breast Surgeons, the Society of Breast Imaging, the OB-GYNs, the American College of Surgeons, we all recommend annual screening mammography beginning at age 40 in average-risk women. Now, even if there is dissent of opinion across all organizations of when to start screening mammography, all organizations agree that the most lives and life years saved is by starting annual mammography at 40 in an average risk woman. And so therefore, that is what I recommend, and I try to get the word out for women to ensure that they start getting their mammograms at 40.
What exactly would you consider an average risk woman?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, in this country now, we have what's called breast cancer risk assessment tools, where we can calculate a woman's lifetime risk of breast cancer. And what's really awesome is that Liberty allowed me to bring the most accurate breast cancer tool on the market called Tyrer-Cuzick, where it essentially calculates your lifetime risk. So if a woman comes in and has her mammogram, one of our skilled mammography technologists asks them questions like family history. We calculate their body mass index. We plug in their breast density, all of these factors, and it spits out a number, which populates automatically on the mammography report. If you're 20% or greater lifetime risk, you're considered high risk or above average risk. So those women would start actually getting mammograms at 30. So last year, we came out as a breast cancer community, breast imaging in particular, and we recommend that any woman of any color is risk assessed for breast cancer by age 30 because we feel like we're underestimating breast cancer in young women in this country. So if you are deemed 20% or greater, you should start getting annual mammograms starting at 30, alternating every 6 months with supplemental screening in the form of breast MRI or ultrasound, so that you are getting surveillance every 6 months and you're getting that heightened surveillance. Now, if you're below 20%, you're considered average risk. So those women, we recommend you start annual screening at 40.
Wow, that is fascinating and something that who would have known? And I guess, so many of us, and I think that's one of the reasons, and we'll talk about it later, but I think it's one of the reasons why Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I think, is so important. I mean, you think information like that doesn't just see it pop up, in any place you look online or any place around the media, you don't hear that sort of thing.
You don't. And I fervently believe that it is important as breast specialists, particularly, to get the word out. We know that 1 out of 6 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer between the ages of 40 and 49. So we feel that it is imperative that women know that you should be getting screened annually at 40 if you're average risk. And if you are not average risk, if you are high risk, you need to start screening sooner.
This isn't on my list of questions, but I'm curious, what would be a woman's hesitance or reluctance to be screened? Why wouldn't they want to do that?
Well, some common things are, a mammogram isn't a walk in the park. It isn't the most comfortable exam in the world. However, we now have a new technology that's called 3D mammography.
Oh, that's my next question.
Yes.
Let's just talk about that.
Yes. Yeah. So 3D mammography has really become this transformative tool in the detection of breast cancer. And subsequently, it also applies less compression to the breast than the prior sort of 2D conventional mammography. Many sites now have 3D mammography around here. Liberty now has 3D mammography. Well, we've had 3D now for at least 5 years, which has been incredible. But Liberty, Bethany has it, Excelsior Springs has it, Cameron has it. So there are areas around here with 3D mammography. So it does apply less compression to the breast. And what's really amazing is that we are able to look at the breast tissue in 1 millimeter slices and scroll through the breast tissue at the workstation like a CAT scan. So if there is a cancer hiding in these layers of tissue, we are more likely to see it than the prior 2D static images, the 2D mammography that was sort of prior practice. Now, there are still a lot of facilities with 2D. It's just that 3D is very up and coming, very revolutionary, and so most practices now are getting 3D mammography.
So 3D more comfortable, and the outcome of the imagery is far more detailed.
Yes.
Outstanding. Yeah, we're let's get ready to take a break. Is that right, Brian? We're visiting today with Dr. Amy Patel. She's a radiologist at Liberty Hospital and with the Alliance Radiology Clinic. You're listening to Kearney Live. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Kearney Trust Company is uniquely Kearney. They opened their doors in 1882 and have been financing goals and dreams ever since. Kearney Trust has a team of experienced lenders and a qualified staff to assist you with all of your financial needs. Your success is their priority. Whether you're looking for traditional checking and savings services, or you need cash management, mobile banking, mortgage, or lending services, Kearney Trust will provide you and your business with the resources you need to succeed. Information, speed, and convenience are all valuable commodities in our fast-paced world. For Kearney Trust Company, technology is an addition to, not a replacement for the personal banking relationship they like to have with their customers. The people of Kearney Trust Company focus on and try to fit the needs of all their customers. Kearney Trust Company is your partner for success with 2 convenient locations in Kearney at 310 West 92 Highway and 701 Watson Drive in Price Chopper. The phone number is 816-628-6666. Kearney Trust Company. Banking you can trust. Member FDIC.
And we're back on Kearney Live. We've got Dr. Amy Patel in studio with us today. She's a radiologist at Liberty Hospital in the Alliance Radiology Group. And October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And you will see folks in the NFL, for example, wearing the pink gloves a lot of times, or the other trim items that are. And then you're wearing a pink jacket today.
Yes.
How appropriate.
I know. I wear a lot of pink in the month of October.
Way to go.
Yes.
Well, that explains a lot. Now that we see all these people walking around wearing pink this month, we know why.
Yes.
What a terrific, I think, publicity effort that Susan G. Komen and others have put forth. I mean, that who knew? However many years they've been doing this,
yes.
And we sort of expect it every year around October.
Well, we have to do this. I mean, still in the United States, 40,000 women die of breast cancer a year. And we are considered arguably one of the most, as far as healthcare goes, we are one of the most robust healthcare programs in the entire, world, in the Western world. And we still have 40,000 women dying a year of breast cancer in this country, and 2,000 to 3,000 men are dying of breast cancer in this country. So we have to have all hands on deck. We cannot let our foot off the pedal, and we have to advocate for the cause and to hopefully someday find a cure.
I want to talk about that. You mentioned men getting breast cancer, and I have a friend who had breast cancer, who's a man, and he's great. He's good to go now, which is terrific. It's the outcome you always want.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember when this happened. He was a colleague in the advertising industry that I was involved in, and I was just so surprised because I thought, well, wait, that doesn't happen, does it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it does. Tell us about that.
Yes. So men have breasts too, so men can get breast cancer. It is rare. So we see male breast cancer in about 1% of the population. So 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in her lifetime, opposed to 1 in 800 men. But it does happen. So, and it does, in terms of the symptoms, it does come on the same as women. Men feel the same, a hard, palpable mass that's fixed to the chest. You can feel it whether you're sitting up, standing, sitting down, whatever. And the most common breast cancer in men is the most common one we see in women, called invasive ductal carcinoma. However, male breast cancer tends to be more aggressive than female breast cancer. So what I want to say to the men listening is that if you ever feel something that's off, a lump, anything, please get it checked out, because the majority of times, the most common breast pathology we see in men is something that's completely benign and not cancerous, called gynecomastia. And most often that happens as a man ages. So all men have estrogen in the body. And as a man ages, his testosterone starts to decrease. So you have this unopposed estrogen effect that causes the growth of breast tissue behind the nipple. Well, it can be elicited as pain or a lump behind the nipple, which can really scare men. But usually it's just gynecomastia, which has no potential to become cancer. So whenever you feel something, please get it checked out. Go see a specialist who knows how to handle breast pathology. Come see me at Liberty. I can check you out, make sure that everything's okay. But please do not neglect it, because male breast cancer can happen. And since I've come back to the area to practice, I am seeing male breast cancer more than I saw in Boston. And I don't know why. And that's something that I could particularly, I'm thinking about researching in the future, because I do research on the side as well. But, I'm seeing that. I've already seen, since I've come back to practice, I've been here a little over a year now, and I've already seen 3 or 4 cases of male breast cancer. Now, I've seen way more cases of gynecomastia, but 3 or 4 cases, that's a lot. I saw 0 cases of male breast cancer when I was in Boston. So it's important to get checked out if you feel something.
Well, no doubt about it. So, it's the sort of thing that I know I go to a regular yearly get a physical from my medical doctor, and I think it's a smart thing, and I know he's aware of it because we've talked about it, and and there's obviously, we can all stand in the shower and sort of screen ourselves for that sort of thing. But if a guy says, you know what, there is something here, and where do I go? Do I go to a clinic and get a mammography? What happens at that point? What does a guy do?
So they can essentially talk to their primary care provider. And what I'm trying to convey to the primary care docs in the area is, if you're not sure, just call me, send them to me. I'll talk to you about it. I'll talk you through it. So typically, based on the American College of Radiology appropriateness criteria, if you have some sort of symptom and you're a male of the breast, if you're under the age of 25, we would start with an ultrasound. Now, if you're over the age of 25, we actually start with a mammogram, and we can do a mammogram on a man, because most commonly the diagnosis will be like gynecomastia, which is benign, and we don't have to do anything further. But we really need that mammogram, because if it's something that isn't benign, like a male breast cancer, we need that mammogram to look at all of the breast tissue to make sure that what we're seeing on mammography is matching up with the ultrasound findings. So essentially, as far as male breast goes, you don't need to know all of that, but just know that if you have something, make sure you go see a breast imaging specialist to fully evaluate you to ensure that everything's okay.
And that's the thing that your regular medical doctor could send you to.
Absolutely.
And they would say, here's how we're going to follow up. Here's a procedure that go through these steps, and we'll get you fixed up.
And most doctors around here know that if someone's having any sort of breast pain pathology, they'll call the breast center, our breast center, and then even if they send the wrong orders, usually they let me just switch them to what we need to put the case to bed, and that's it. So it's essentially, the referring provider can call and send in the orders. Otherwise, if the patient doesn't have a referring provider, just call us. We can help you, in any way. And same goes for if you feel something and you can't afford it. We're really fortunate, particularly at Liberty. We were very grateful to be awarded a Susan G. Komen grant this year. So there are ways to pay for ultrasounds, mammograms, biopsies, and we also have a women's health fund through the Liberty Hospital Foundation. So I don't want anyone to feel like I can't go in because I can't afford it, because we will just help you. We just want to make sure you're okay.
Outstanding. I think that probably would be one of those, I would say, an item that certainly men, but women would say, well, I can't afford it, so I can't get a mammogram. I can't go in there and get screened because I don't have the right insurance, or I don't have any insurance, or I can't afford it. And I think I got to believe that that's going to keep people out of there.
Absolutely. But, again, I know that breast disparities exist in this part of the state. Now that I oversee breast imaging for pretty much a quarter of the state of Missouri, I see that there are a lot of disparities for breast care and, for mammography and for ultrasound and et cetera. And so I've really, taken it upon myself to have that money available for women and men so that they can get the care that they need. So we're really fortunate that in April of 2018, we were able to amend the previous mammography bill in the state of Missouri so that women who want 3D mammography and want annual screening can have both 2D or 3D mammography annually starting at age 40. So private insurers have to cover that in the state of Missouri. I was really blessed to be a part of that legislation and getting that pushed through. But, as far as if, like a woman, we see something on a screening mammogram and have to call her back to do additional views, that diagnostic exam, some insurance companies won't cover that, or they don't have a way to cover that. And that's where we come in. We can help with that. So.
Right. You've answered some of my questions already. That was one of them. You mentioned
I can read your mind.
Right. I see. I knew you were pretty bright.
Yeah,
but
clairvoyant. It's another talent. No,
very, very telepathic abilities too. Yeah. So you mentioned that you had helped getting involved in getting the 3D mammography legislation passed, which is incredible. What a labor of love on your part, obviously.
Well, I mean, it really was a team effort. I cannot take full credit. So I actually wasn't even back practicing here when this bill was introduced. The amendment to the bill was introduced by Representative Dean Plocher in January of 2018. And at the time, I was still practicing in Massachusetts. However, I was involved with similar legislation in Massachusetts. I had testified in front of the Massachusetts legislature. Well, the Missouri Radiological Society knew I was coming back to their area to practice. I'd already had ties with them when I did a fellowship in St. Louis. And so they reached out and they told me that, this bill has been introduced. And so I was involved with editing the bill, ensuring that women were getting that annual screening at 40 and why, who recommends it. And that was just a team effort between the Missouri State Medical Society or the Missouri State Medical Association and the Missouri Radiological Society. And luckily, within 4 months, we were able to pass that bill, which is like unheard of. So kudos to our elected officials in the state of Missouri, but the work isn't done because we are identifying a lot of high-risk women, particularly in this part of the state, who do not get coverage by private insurers. So that's something I feel passionately about, and I'll be working on making sure that high-risk women get covered for screening.
No doubt about it, and good job, you.
Thank you.
I mean, that's just fantastic. You're listening to Dr. Amy Patel. She's a radiologist here at Liberty Hospital. She works with the Alliance Radiology Group. And I have to, we talk about the screening and we talk about, all the different methods now. We've got 3D, which sounds like a terrific option to the traditional mammogram. But I also think look, what happens when you get an image that says, yes, that's cancer? Where do you go with the patient when you see that? What happens next?
So different practices practice differently, but the way that I practice and our group practices is that once we do the workup, if we see something that looks suspicious, I take the patient into the consult room, whether the patients are alone or with a loved one or whatever, and I go over, this is why I called you back, and this is what I am seeing, and I am recommending a biopsy. And then we discuss which way I would be doing the biopsy or one of my radiology colleagues. Because there's various ways you can biopsy a mass. You can do it under ultrasound guidance, mammography guidance, MRI guidance, etc. And so then we do the biopsy. And then when the results return, I actually call the patient and we go over the results. And if there's, if it's a positive result, we're really fortunate at Liberty to have a breast oncology navigator. And she is so instrumental in the care of a patient. Because once that positive diagnosis happens, she is making the appointments for breast surgery, for oncology, for anything that the patient needs, tells them where to go, where to be, what to expect. She goes to the first appointment with them so that no stone is left unturned, and the patient doesn't have to worry about all of these nuts and bolts after the diagnosis. All I hear is cancer. So our navigator is really amazing to sort of, lessen that burden and help the patient and sort of guide them and help them and is there as a beacon of support in their journey. So we work together to provide comprehensive care for our women from start to finish.
One of the things I think when you mentioned a minute ago, you hear the word cancer, and it used to be for those of us who are, I'm in my 60s, and it used to be it was fatal when you heard it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was almost instantly fatal, regardless of what kind of cancer we're talking about here. But specific to breast cancer, what is? Give us some hope here. What's happening nowadays that you can share with a patient who does get a positive, scan. Mm-hmm. What can you tell them from the standpoint of giving them hope and saying we've got ways to fix this, and you know what? It's become almost routine. Can you give them information like that?
Absolutely. So when I sit down with a patient, I like to also share positive takeaways. So I will say that I see something that is this many centimeters in the breast. I'll actually show them on the ruler to show them how tiny it is, because the whole point of mammography is early detection. So usually I'm going to find a cancer that is small if they're coming in every year. Now, if they skip many years of screening and the mass has already exploded, that's a different story. But if they're coming in annually, I'm going to find it when it's millimetric. So I like to show show them on the ruler for perspective. And then I say things like, and I don't see anything in the rest of your breast or the other breast. The lymph nodes look okay when we scanned you with ultrasound. So I like them to focus on the positive takeaways. I also like to share facts. So since the advent of screening mammography programs in the United States, the death rate has plummeted close to 40%. So women are not dying of breast cancer as much as they were even 20 years ago. They're dying of something else. We also know that when we detect breast cancers that are less than a centimeter, your survival is close to, 100%. So there's a lot of hope, and a lot of these cancers are very easily treated, not just with early detection, but very curative, transformative drugs that we have. And that's really a testament to all the money that we're raising through organizations like Susan G. Komen, American Cancer Society, to, advance research and to basically invent some really incredible curative drugs. So there's so much hope. And I also tell women that it's unfortunate that you've been diagnosed with breast cancer right now. However, if you were ever to be diagnosed with breast cancer, now is the time to be diagnosed because, in many cases it is curative.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, as a patient, it's obviously going to be very alarming just to hear the word cancer. But I think to have that kind of research behind them, and all of the new, as you say, the treatments and medicines that frankly are all about saving people's lives now. There is hope, but it's all about staying up in front of it, getting your screening and making sure if there's even the slightest bit of a doubt, make sure that we're doing this. We're visiting today with Dr. Amy Patel. She's a radiologist in Liberty, Missouri, Liberty Hospital with the Alliance Radiology Clinic, and we'll give that address and phone number in a bit. You're listening to Kearney Live. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Making our programming possible on KPGZ are these fine underwriters.
Kearney Trust Company is uniquely Kearney. They opened their doors in 1882 and have been financing goals and dreams ever since. Kearney Trust has a team of experienced lenders and a qualified staff to assist you with all of your financial needs. Your success is their priority. Whether you're looking for traditional checking and savings services, or you need cash management, mobile banking, mortgage, or lending services, Kearney Trust will provide you and your business with the resources you need to succeed. Information, speed, and convenience are all valuable commodities in our fast-paced world. For Kearney Trust Company, technology is an addition to, not a replacement for the personal banking relationship they like to have with their customers. The people of Kearney Trust Company focus on and try to fit the needs of all their customers. Kearney Trust Company is your partner for success with 2 convenient locations in Kearney at 310 West 92 Highway and 701 Watson Drive in Price Chopper. The phone number is 816-628-6666. Kearney Trust Company. Banking you can trust. Member FDIC.
And you're back on Kearney Live. We're visiting today with Dr. Amy Patel. She is a radiologist, and I'm going to get this right. I've been corrected off the air. It's with the Women's Imaging Center at Liberty Hospital. And Jim, did I get it right that time?
I believe you did.
It's a struggle, Sometimes they put me in front of a microphone, and Lord knows what could happen.
Well, and you'll learn.
I know. I'm doing my best.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
I try to sit back for 5 minutes and relax, and you mess it up.
Yeah. Put it this way: this is my practice, and I'm still practicing. Right? And to really coin a phrase.
Outstanding. I have a question though.
Yes, please do.
So we've talked about prevention, and we've talked about what you talk to patients about, once they're diagnosed and that sort of thing. Can you tell us just a little bit of where we are as far as curing? What kind of advancements are we making as far as, once it's diagnosed, once it's detected? We over the years, back when we had polio and all that sort of thing, we fixed it. for all practical purposes. But cancer just seems to keep going, and I realize there's all these different types, but we keep trying. Where are we at as far as finding like they always say, finding the cure?
Well, we are working tirelessly to find a cure. I mean, in the breast cancer community, a lot of the issues that we're having with really pinpointing a cure is that, as you know, cancer can mutate at a very rapid rate. So by the time we've found what we think is a cure, it's already mutated to such a degree that we now are no longer able to pinpoint it. It's sort of like HIV, where it's the same thing, where you have DNA that is mutating so rapidly that we're unable to really pinpoint, for the cure. But we are getting closer and closer every day. And I think that with that research that we're doing, and as well as all the curative drugs that we now have, the early detection, it's been incredible. So even though 40,000 women are dying a year of breast cancer, we are saving a lot of lives now, even from, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And not just, it's not just saving lives. Even when a woman has a very small breast cancer and she qualifies for a lumpectomy, the surgical techniques have improved to really reduce morbidity of the breast. So, the breasts that I see from a woman who's had a breast cancer with a lumpectomy back in the 60s looks so different now than a woman who has a lumpectomy these days. And I have so many women that say to me that who might be older, who've had surgery 20, 30 years ago, and then maybe have a biopsy with me now and say, oh my gosh, things have changed so dramatically. Like, since I last had any sort of treatment, this is like a walk in the park, or this is so minimally invasive. So that is the whole point. It's a collective thing where we want to be providing the most cutting-edge, minimally invasive technologies to diagnose the breast cancer, and then essentially curing the disease is obviously the end game. But I think all of this plays a role in the care of our patients.
So you say you're down to call it 40,000 a year now. What was it? Just out of curiosity, not exact number, but what was it roughly, I don't know, let's say 20 years ago?
So I am actually not sure because, a lot of it, I'm still, younger.
Right.
So I'm not really sure on that statistic, but I just know that currently it's about 40,000 a year. And like I said, for men, it's about 2,000 to 3,000, but I'm not really sure.
And that's actually, when you look at the full population, that is very impressive, I think, because 40,000 in a population of what are we now, 300 million or something like that. I mean, there's more, and I don't mean, so don't write letters and stuff, but I don't mean to degrade it or demean it, but 40,000, we have more car accidents than that, or people die in car accidents than that. So that's outstanding work.
You put it in perspective, and that's all we're trying to do here. So, absolutely, it is. Well, there's hope, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, there's definitely hope. And, we're obviously sitting here because we want to eradicate that 40,000 number because, we do feel it is an unacceptable number. So we will continue to work hard to get that number down. And I am hopeful that even in the next century, we will cut that in half.
And I would say, and correct me if this is wrong, but a lot of that 40,000, number one is treatment, but number two is also early diagnosis because we're more...
proactive.
25 years ago or whatever.
Exactly.
We never talked about it.
And that's the issue, I can't say if someone who comes in with advanced breast cancer who hasn't had a mammogram in 25 years, And what's really sad is I see those cases a lot, and particularly with our rural women who, we have a lot of women that, mean well or just couldn't get in or were working hard on the farm or just didn't have the education. And so then they come in and they've never had a mammogram and they have a really advanced breast cancer. And those are the days that are really, really tough. Right. And that is why I have made it my mission since I've come back to practice is to get out there and talk to anyone who will listen to me to say, get in and get your mammogram every year. And as long as you're in good health. So we talked about when do we start a mammogram? Well, when do we stop? Well, as long as you're in good health, you should be getting a mammogram. I see a lot of older women in this area that are very vibrant and, they're driving and they're just sharp as tacks. And those women need to be getting annual mammograms. So even if you're 82 years old and you are doing very well, you should be getting annual screening. And I'm trying to get that across as well.
Yeah, that's an important part of it. I think, again, just being proactive from the standpoint of getting in, getting the screening and knowing that, as you say, and I think that's vitally important, if you're getting screened from age 40 on, and if you're an early risk, obviously it's going to be a little bit sooner.
Right.
But if you're getting screened every year, the likelihood of you having coming in with a full blown, I guess, metastasized cancer. It's slim to none, right? I mean,
there are some breast cancers that are more biologically aggressive than others. So you could have a totally clean mammogram one year, and then you come in the next year, and there's just this mass that's exploded. But, the odds of it exploding all the way where it's metastasized or is spread to the lymph nodes in the armpit, and it just looks like very horrible, horrible disease. I mean, that's going to be rare if you are coming in every year to get your mammogram. Right. We can save you if you're coming in, regularly, so that we can pick this up sooner.
And doesn't that, not to derail, but doesn't that kind of apply to everything? Because a lot of things where people have all sorts of illnesses, if they'd have just
get into your doctor.
Well, annual checkup,
Well, like prostate cancer,
Exactly.
Men should be getting their
thinking.
PSA every year. If you see the slightest bump, you need to investigate.
Right.
That is one of the most preventable cancers. And so,
indeed, and slow growing.
Yeah,
I
I try to, spread the word for, I'm a huge breast cancer advocate, obviously, but things like any sort of preventative health, colon cancer, prostate cancer, as long as you stay on top of it, there are curative treatments.
Right. And I think one of the things that helps get that information out there are the promotions that go on and the partnerships that go on along with Susan G. Komen. And this one was on our the news release today. And I actually thought this thing was a mistake when I saw this. It was a partnership between WWE and Susan G. Komen, and I thought maybe that Stacy was giving this to me as just to see if I was paying attention. Is this a joke, Stacy? No, it's not. We are talking about, and you were on Fox 4, I think, promoting this a couple of weeks ago or a few weeks ago, but it's a partnership between World Wrestling Entertainment and Susan G. Komen National. Tell us about that.
So it's really interesting. So this Susan G. Komen and the WWE, Susan G. Komen National, they partner in the month of October for what's called the Champions of Hope contest. And basically, patient advocates, patients, survivors, anyone involved with breast cancer can submit their story. And then they have a set of finalists they interview, and then they pick the winners. So I was really fortunate, submitted my story, and I was actually fortunate to be one of the finalists in the entire country.
Outstanding.
Yeah, it was very random, and very shocking. I was like, this is happening to me. It was crazy. But unfortunately, they picked two winners, and I wasn't one of the winners. But, I just am so grateful for the opportunity. And, I talked a lot about how, I grew up actually watching wrestling with my brother. That was a thing. And, a lot of our patients and our survivors are huge WWE fans. So I did a lot for them because I thought, gosh, if I could win this, it would be so neat for our survivors and for our women going through treatment and things like that. So it was just really amazing to be a part of that experience, and then Fox 4 wanted to do a segment on it, so I said, why not?
That is so cool. And by the way, there is further information at Komen.org/WWE. That's Komen.org/WWE. And there's all kinds of information, up-to-date information on that website. But I would also say go to the YouTube and just plug in WWE and Komen. And there's a ton of videos on there, too. Some of them are just they're kind of funny, actually. But, I mean, it has all of the entertainment value that you would expect from World Wrestling Entertainment. And I'll just leave it at that. But it's neat publicity. And what an awesome partnership, I think. And sort of unexpected, at least from my perspective. It's not the sort of thing that I would say.
So like back in, I believe it's 2012 or so, John Cena who is a very popular wrestler, saw that, about half or a little more than half of his fan base are women. And so he actually was the one who sort of brought the partnership together. So I thought that was incredible. And then that relationship has just continued to strengthen year after year.
Yeah, I think perhaps, Jim and I are big football fans. And, you see, as we pointed out earlier, you see a lot of the NFL teams and players through the month of October wearing the pink gloves and socks and things like that. And I've seen pink shoes and all manner of extra football gear.
Yes.
And the NFL, I think, has done a tremendous job of getting that messaging out there. And Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
I was going to say the funny thing is that it's spread into not only the sports community, but it's spread out through a lot of others. So I know in the airline world, all the airlines are now, you can wear a pink tie for the month of October, but a lot of them have the epaulets.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
They go pink. And so I know this year, for those, a bunch of people tried to order them, and the demand was so high they ran out.
How cool is that?
So there's a lot of, the flight attendants, I think, can all wear pink scarves.
Oh, wow.
So everybody switches. So it's not, it's interesting. It started with, I think it started with the NFL, and then baseball did it, I think, for a degree.
Yep, I think that's right.
But the airlines are doing it, and I'm sure there's a number of other businesses that are doing that as well, but everybody's getting involved.
Well, I think it's really neat, too. We're seeing so many pink out games with our high schools around here. There's pink out games. Liberty has a pink out game. It's just so neat to see that even kids at the high school level want to get involved, in even the college level. So the Metropolitan Community College, their softball team's having a pink out game on this month on the Friday, I believe it's the 18th, and we'll actually be there as well, Liberty Hospital Women's Imaging, so that's going to be great. So the fact that we have younger folks that want to raise money and to really, advocate for change is so powerful to see in the month of October.
It absolutely is. We're visiting today with Dr. Amy Patel. She's a radiologist at the Women's Imaging Center at Liberty Hospital, and Amy, I said I was going to call you Dr. Patel through this show.
It's not a big deal.
You introduced yourself as Amy, but in any case, we love and appreciate the work that you're doing. But do you want me to give the address, or you want to give the address over there at Alliance Radiology?
You can go ahead and give
I've got it right here. It's 2521 Glen Hendron Drive, and it's Suite G80 in Liberty, Missouri. And I think most folks know where that is if you live in the area. And the phone number over there is 816-781-722. And obviously, I would encourage everybody out there, male or female, make sure and you can screen yourself. And if there's anything that you see that is not normal, and if it's not, get to your doctor, your own family physician first, and make sure get it checked out, get properly screened, and follow the procedures to make sure that we can get a jump on that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Jim. You had looked like you have a look on your face sometimes
relaxed
that
and
says
everything else. But so I'll tag on to that. So because I know we're getting close to the end. But just give us one more. I mean, prevention's the key. Give us one more little pep talk for someone who's sitting at home right now and or watching this later,
right,
and they say, I ought to
maybe
go.
later,
I'm thinking about it,
maybe
or whatever.
Next month. Yep.
Tell us why they need to go and get it done.
Motivate them.
If nothing else, I guess what I would say is, and you can go on this, just make the phone call. If you schedule it, then it's on your calendar, right, and then maybe you'll be more inclined to go.
There you go.
So we have some sayings that we commonly use, that early detection is the best protection, and early detection saves lives, simply. If you are able to come in and get regular surveillance or regular screening annually, if there ever is a breast cancer that pops up, we are going to find it when it is very, very small, and we are going to beat it, and you're going to live a long and vibrant life. Opposed to if you wait for years and years and years until you actually feel a lump, and then, you still could be okay, but it could have advanced. So prevention, preventative measures, obviously, there are things we can do to lower our risk of breast cancer, but the best thing you can do is to get in every year to get your annual mammogram.
Yeah, by the way, I know of at least two, and I'm thinking of another friend of mine that is a breast cancer survivor. In fact, twice.
Wow.
And it's just amazing to me, the treatments and the technologies, as you mentioned before, that when these things happen to people, these bad things happen to good people,
mm-hmm.
It is encouraging to know
mm-hmm.
that there's hope.
Mm-hmm.
And man, if we could end on any kind of a positive note at all, tell us about the hope that's involved.
Hope plays a huge role in what we do. I mean, as far as, what I do as a breast radiologist and the science behind breast imaging, I think that hope and, I don't mean to push any sort of, respect everyone's religious beliefs, but I think prayer is important in a lot of, a lot of this as well. But what we try to do is provide hope to our patients, and with that hope, we like to provide facts. And when we can provide the facts with the hope, I think that a lot of times for women, they feel a sense of calm that they're going to be okay. And so that's what I try to provide for my patients. Yeah,
I've seen that play out in, as I say, in friends of mine who are survivors. And it's just wonderful to see. I mean, that's what we want. It's the outcome you're looking for. Yep. Jim, there's that look. There's that look. You got to talk.
Well, it's because I was leaning up because Brian's giving me the look too. But no, thanks for coming out today. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of good information. And for people who have more questions or anything, you can go to our website. Don't forget the fire department thing. Mike, I think, is going to talk about that for just a second. So... Mike?
I just want to be sure. Yeah, this is the one, Brian, you wanted me to talk about the district that they've sold the shirts each October in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month right now, October, for 7 or 8 years. And David Pratt, he's captain over there at the fire department. In the last 2 years, shirt sales have raised more than $5,000.
It's amazing.
Now, that proceeds, he said, are used to aid those fighting the disease locally as well as survivors. So there are all kinds of places to give and ways to help, and this is one of them. Besides that, the shirts are kind of cool. I saw them. You can find them online. Go to the Kearney Fire Department. It's the Kearney Fire Department Cancer Awareness 2019, and look at the shirts. They're long sleeve shirts. They got some very cool designs on them. I recommend get one, and it's a good way to help out and do the right thing and just be proactive.
And then you can go out and you can wear your shirt to the game on Friday.
I like that idea.
And coming up, for those of you who are looking forward, don't forget that tomorrow is the Coach Gray Show. That's at noon. Join Mike and I. We'll be with Coach Gray and talk about the upcoming game and last week's game that went rather swimmingly. Also, be sure to joining us next week when our guest in studio is going to be Bob Nance. For those of you who are following the Clay County information and all the stuff that's going on over there, make sure you do a little research. Go back and look at some previous shows we've done because that'll get you up to speed. And then we'll talk to Bob Nance next week on Kearney Live.
And a big thank you again to Dr. Amy Patel. Thank you, Amy, for being with us. Amy's with the Women's Imaging Center at Liberty Hospital. And if you need to give them a call over there, 781-7200. Of course, that's 816-781-7200. Don't forget to screen. Get out there. Be proactive. Thanks so much for listening to Kearney Live. What a great show this has been. I hope we've done some good for you. Come back next week. We'll be here. Thanks for listening. .7 KPGZ, Kearney, Missouri.